Riki Nao is an orphan student who is physically weak and suffers from narcolepsy, which makes him suddenly fall asleep. In school, he has been invited to join a circle of friends called the Little Busters by Kyosuke Natsume, a popular student who Riki sees as his role model. One day after hearing of Kyosuke's return to school, Riki rushes to prevent his roommate Masato Inohara from engaging in a friendly duel with Kengo Miyazawa. When Riki asks Kyosuke for help, Kyosuke suggests they fight using objects thrown by spectators. Kyosuke's younger sister, Rin Natsume, disapproves when Masato tries to use a white cat as his weapon, causing Kengo to lose interest. Riki recalls how he has been friends with Kyosuke, Masato, Kengo, and Rin since childhood, forming a group called the Little Busters. Later, Riki proposes that they do something together, and Kyosuke suggests playing baseball as the Little Busters. Kengo declines, as he needs to prepare for a kendo tournament. That night, Kyosuke sends Rin to the girls' dormitory to recruit new members. After a few unsuccessful attempts, Rin is challenged by Sasami Sasasegawa and 3 other softball team members, losing the fight. The next day, Riki tries recruiting new members and follows a girl to the school's roof. On the school roof, Riki discovers Komari Kamikita, a clumsy girl from his class who loves snacks and sweets. Riki tries to get Komari to join the baseball team, but he realizes she might not be the best fit for baseball. After lunch, Riki finds Rin skipping her duty to play with cats. One white cat named Lennon has 2 notes attached. The first note hints at a secret in the world, and to learn it, they must complete upcoming tasks. The second note instructs them to solve a sanitation issue in the boys' dorm storage room. Riki is skeptical, but Rin is eager to tackle the first task. Rin, Riki, Kyosuke, and Masato clean the storage room. Komari shows up and agrees to join the baseball team, but they finish cleaning before focusing on baseball. On the field, Kyosuke welcomes Komari to the team, even though she's not athletic. Shortly after, Riki collapses due to narcolepsy, a condition he's had since childhood. After Riki recovers from his narcolepsy episode, the Little Busters baseball team has morning practice. Masato returns Riki's idiom dictionary in a plastic bag, but it's smelly. Haruka Saigusa, from another class, playfully borrows the dictionary before Riki can catch her. While trying to chase her, Riki accidentally bumps into Yuko Korugea's desk. Yuko is a smart girl who often skips class. During a break, Riki struggles to get coffee from a vending machine. Yuko takes him to a cafe terrace with wooden furniture among some hedges. Riki loses track of time talking with her, and rushes back to class when he hears the tardy bell. Haruka returns the idiom dictionary, scolding Riki for its gross condition. Masato and Kengo start another duel, but Yuko steps in, making Kengo lose interest. Initially following Kyosuke's rules, Masato and Yuko fight, but Yuko loses after kicking Masato several times. Later, Yuko finds the Little Busters during baseball practice, and joins them, proving to be a strong asset. One afternoon, Riki helps his classmate Kudryavka Nomi move her boxes into her new dorm room. The next day, Riki goes to the school roof to thank Komari on behalf of Rin for looking after Faber, an injured cat. However, he overhears Komari talking in her sleep about her brother. When she wakes up, she confesses that she's an only child, and that her brother only shows up in her dreams to read her a picture book about an egg and a chick. The next day, Riki and Rin find Komari feeling a bit sad on the school roof. She discovered the picture book from her dreams in the storage room. With the name Takuya Kamikita on the back cover, Komari suspects her brother was the author, but she can't remember anything about him. Riki and Rin join Komari on a visit to a nursing home, and other Little Busters members decide to come along to volunteer. Riki enters the room of a noisy old man and cleans despite his grumpiness. After scaring Komari away, the old man reveals himself as Kojiro Kamikita and warns Riki not to bring her near him again. Komari keeps dreaming about her brother, and Riki thinks he might be no longer alive. Riki visits Kojiro to find out more about Takuya. Kojiro warns Riki not to dig too deep into the matter if he cares about Komari. Unable to sleep, Riki goes out for coffee and runs into Komari at the school gate, who went out for snacks. She invites him to the school roof to watch a meteor shower, and they spend the night making wishes. Komari asks Riki to go on a date to help her find her lost memories. They take a train to her old home and end up on a boat on a lake. Riki suggests she doesn't have to search for her brother, and Komari jokingly asks if he can be her brother. On their way back to school, it starts raining, and while seeking shelter, Riki spots a dead kitten. Komari starts crying as memories of her brother flood back. Riki takes Komari to his room to help her feel better after she suddenly becomes upset. She remembers everything about her brother Takuya, especially the time they spent together in the hospital. Takuya wrote a picture book for her, letting her know he might not be there when she woke up. But he said not to be sad because it would all be like a dream. When Komari woke up, Takuya had passed away. She remembered his words and didn't get too sad. When Rin and Yuko come to take Komari back to her room, she starts to believe that Riki is her brother as a way to protect herself. Kyosuke later says that only Riki can help Komari. Riki talks to Kojiro, who explains that this protective belief happens every time Komari sees death, and she'll go back to normal in a few weeks. Despite this, Riki stays up all night with support from friends to extend Takuya's picture book, hoping to reach Komari. The next day, Riki encourages Komari to accept Takuya's death. Through the extended picture book, he shows her that she has friends to support her. Kyosuke tells Riki to find more people for the baseball team. After school, Riki and Rin find Haruka and bring her to the baseball field during practice. However, the disciplinary committee takes Haruka away for skipping detention. The next morning, they come looking for Haruka again, but she runs away with Riki. They meet the disciplinary committee chairman, Kanada Futaki, who scolds Riki for causing trouble with friends. After school, Riki goes to the classroom for his gym clothes and finds Haruka fixing a desk Masato broke during a duel with Rin. Haruka is on the maintenance committee. Later, disciplinary committee members stop Riki and Haruka, suspecting she got drinks from a vending machine without paying. Riki offers to pay, with Rin's help, so they leave Haruka alone. Riki recruits Haruka for the baseball team, and Kyosuke welcomes her to the Little Busters after she passes the membership test. Riki, Rin, and Masato find Kudryavka playing fetch with her two dogs, Strelka and Belka, and invite her to join the baseball team. After she shows her catching skills, they quickly let her onto the team. Later, Riki and Masato help Kudryavka carry boxes to her dorm room. She doesn't have a roommate but wants one. Riki suggests asking Achan, the resident assistant, who puts a notice on the dorm mailing list. Rin and Yuko don't have roommates, but they both say no for personal reasons. While walking around, Riki and Kudryavka find Mio reading a book under a tree. She also doesn't have a roommate, so they ask her to room with Kudryavka. Mio says no because she thinks all her books would be a problem. Kudryavka is sad about not finding a roommate, but Kanada comes by and agrees to be her roommate, making Kudryavka happy. After baseball practice, Riki and Rin get another mysterious letter tied to Lennon, saying, "Save the cafeteria." They ask a cafeteria lady if there's a problem, but she says everything is fine. Rin argues with Sasami and the softball team about Korok Soba versus Tempura Soba, but Rin loses again. Rin later tells Riki that all the cafeteria ladies left to prepare dinner because of various emergencies. Remembering the second task, Rin gathers the Little Busters to help make dinner for the whole school. Riki wonders how the note writer knew about this. The Little Busters prepare 3 set meals. While handing out meals, Riki faints from narcolepsy. He wakes up in his dorm room, and Kyosuke comes to take him back to the cafeteria, where the rest of the Little Busters are waiting for Riki to start dinner. Riki is given the task of finding the last member to complete the Little Busters baseball team of 9. Riki accidentally hits Mio with a foul ball, so he brings her a cold compress the next day. He notices that Mio always has a parasol and reads under the same tree in the courtyard. Other classmates call her shadowless because she doesn't stand out much. Remembering how Kyosuke and others helped him in childhood, Riki asks Mio to join the Little Busters, but she says no. After gym class, Yuiko asks Riki to help find Mio's favorite book. They can't find it in the classroom, thinking someone might have hidden it as a joke. Yuiko explains there was no wrongdoing, and Mio briefly meets Ito, the classmate who had her favorite book, which turns out to be a poetry collection. Kyosuke, Komari, and Kudryavka call Riki for baseball practice, and Mio watches from the sidelines. Kyosuke plans a spooky test for the Little Busters at night in the school. They split into 3 teams, and each team needs to find 4 talismans left by Kyosuke. He set up traps in the school to make it more challenging. The first team, with Rin, Komari, and Kudryavka, gets scared and finds it tough to go through the school. The second team, with Masato and Kengo, races to Kyosuke's classroom for the first talisman. The last team, with Yuko, Riki, and Haruka, easily gets the talismans. But Yuko leaves Riki and Haruka to scare the first team. Later, the Little Busters notice a big dark shape they think is a vengeful spirit. With help from Mio, they catch the spirit, which turns out to be a large eagle named Chirpy that followed Kyosuke from Hokkaido years ago. Now reunited, the Little Busters watch as Chirpy flies away the next morning. Riki asks Mio to be the baseball team's manager, and she agrees, thinking they're starting an all-male idol group at first. Even though Mio says she won't join in baseball practice and avoids sunlight, Kyosuke welcomes her to the Little Busters. After practice, Mio brings hot tea and they exchange phone numbers. The next day, Kyosuke gathers everyone for a school tanka competition. However, Mio gets left alone when the others try to write poetry, but fail. Riki finds Mio sitting under her usual tree, realizing she wants to fly off and disappear. Riki says he saw a girl in town who looked like her but without a parasol. Before leaving, Mio says she plans to submit a tanka in the competition. The next day, Mio is absent, and Riki hears classmates talking about the girl in town without a parasol. After school, Riki sees the girl standing below in the courtyard. The girl who looks like Mio in the courtyard quickly vanishes. Mio stays away from school for a few days, and Riki's friends slowly start forgetting about her. One day, Riki finds Mio in the courtyard, and she lends him her favorite poetry collection. She invites him to the beach. At the beach, Midori, the girl who looks like Mio, shows up and reveals that Mio has no shadow, explaining why she always carries a parasol. Learning this makes Riki faint from narcolepsy, and he wakes up in his dorm room with no memory of what happened at the beach. As Riki thinks about what's missing in life, he rediscovers Mio's poetry collection and hurries to the classroom to find Mio. When Midori arrives, only Riki knows she's not Mio. While Riki wonders about Mio's disappearance, Midori confronts him, but he refuses to call her Mio like everyone else. Even though Riki thinks Midori might be Mio's forgotten shadow, Midori says she doesn't have a shadow either. She tells Riki that he'll forget Mio soon. Even though Riki promised not to forget Mio, he becomes unsure about his memories when Midori claims Mio used to wear glasses. Kyosuke advises Riki to trust only his own memories for Mio's sake. Suddenly, Riki recalls Mio planning to enter a tanka in the school competition, which was about their talk on a paper airplane. Talking to Midori helps Riki realize Mio is at the beach. Mio explains to Riki that Midori was her imaginary little sister. After medical treatments, Mio forgot about Midori until she read a tanka by Bokisui Wakayama about a white bird drifting between the sky and ocean. After blacking out and waking up, she realized her shadow was gone. Mio decides not to come back with Riki and turns into a bird to fly away. Riki cries over losing Mio but feels better after a call from Midori. He goes into the ocean and finds Mio, witnessing Mio and Midori becoming one person. Back on the beach, Mio has her shadow again. Returning to school, Riki and Mio rejoin the Little Busters. After Komari and Kudryavka's failed attempt to get Riki to follow them for something seemingly bad, Rin later texts Riki to come alone to her dorm room. Sneaking into the girls' dormitory at night, Riki finds Rin, Komari, Yuiko, Haruka, Kudryavka, and Mio having a sleepover. Kyosuke, thinking Riki got kidnapped after a quick call, plays games with Masato and Kengo to decide who will rescue him. After enjoying pastries, the girls take turns bathing until it's Riki's turn. However, he's surprised to find out his pajamas were replaced with a girl's school uniform. Achan reminds them to keep quiet if they don't want a visit from the disciplinary committee. Unfortunately, the committee arrives to warn them for being loud when they start a sword fight with rolled up newspapers. Luckily, Kanata doesn't recognize Riki while he's cross-dressing. The next morning, Riki thanks Yuiko for helping Rin socialize with the other girls and leaves. He runs into Kyosuke, who won the right to rescue him after playing games all night. Masato and Haruka have a fight when she eats some of his katsudon, and he quickly loses. Later, Riki, Rin, and Komari watch as Haruka starts fixing a bench with lots of memories. The Kanata shows up to remind Haruka that the bench will be removed and replaced. Haruka watches as the disciplinary committee breaks the bench and takes the pieces to be burned. She gets taken to the disciplinary committee room to answer for her many rule breaking, but she loses control when they accuse her of something she didn't even do. Yuiko steps in and calms things down before Haruka can make it worse for herself. While Riki and the girls clean up the room, Riki wonders why Kanata is so tough on Haruka. The next day, flyers go up all over school saying Haruka's father is a criminal. The Little Busters gather all the flyers until they find Haruka, crying in the baseball club room. Each woman in her family usually has 2 husbands, and one of her mom's husbands got arrested for arson and attempted murder. It turns out Haruka and Kanata are twins. Haruka and Kanata have different fathers. Haruka's dad, Sho Saigusa, got arrested for attempted murder, and the Futaki family took over the Saigusa family. They chose Kanata to be the heir, and Haruka got blamed for everything. Haruka starts causing trouble for Kanata, and Kanata gets scolded for not keeping Haruka in check. Haruka's friends promise they won't abandon her even after learning the truth. Haruka smiles again after baseball practice with her friends. Kanata warns Haruka not to get her friends into trouble. The next day, Haruka bakes chiffon cakes for Riki and Rin, but they turn out really dry. Riki and Rin go with Haruka to see Sho to confirm if he's her dad, but he won't answer. That night, Riki tells Kanata he wants to help Haruka like he was helped in the past, but apologizes for being too confident. The next day, Haruka gives Riki some chiffon cakes that taste surprisingly better than before. But it turns out Kanata disguised herself as Haruka, and the real Haruka shows up in shock. Haruka finds out that Kanata lied about having an egg allergy since childhood. After they both leave, Kudryavka tells Riki that Kanata is nice inside her dorm room, even though she acts cold to others. Riki learns that Kanata was trying to protect Haruka by using the egg allergy as a childhood lie. But Haruka finds it hard not to blame Kanata for everything. Riki convinces Haruka to talk to Kanata and get the truth. Though hesitant, Kanata reveals that she was mistreated by the Futaki family if she ever went easy on Haruka. She had to be tough on Haruka to protect both of them. Haruka understands and reconciles with Kanata, realizing they're both going through a tough time. They decide to visit Sho, who tells them that their mom and other dad tried to leave the family with Haruka and Kanata as babies. The Saigusa family took them back, leading Sho to commit arson and attempted murder. Haruka decides not to worry about who her real father is anymore. The Little Busters start a teamwork exercise for their morning practice. Later, Kudryavka decides to apply for a national practical exam at school. The other members of the Little Busters agree to help her study, especially in her weakest subject, English. Komari helps with English, Mio with math and physics, and Masato with Japanese history. When classmates Takamiya, Katsusawa, and Yamazaki make fun of Kudryavka in the cafeteria, Yuko quickly scares them away. In the library, Kudryavka tells Riki, Masato, and Yuko that her grandfather raised her and took her on many travels, including to a small island nation called Tebwa in Southeast Asia where she was born. Kanata comes by to return Kudryavka's book on the many worlds, Interpretation, one of the many books she reads for international exams as a hobby. On the day of the national practical exam, Kudryavka accidentally fills in the wrong bubbles on her test and has to take a remedial class. She feels bad about failing, but the other members of the Little Busters show up in the remedial class to show her that she's not alone. Riki and Rin get a third mysterious letter tied to Lennon, asking them to help a second-year boy named Ikawa who has a crush on Sasami. Riki and Rin talk to Sasami to find out about her hobbies and the kind of guys she likes, and they discover she's interested in Kengo, even though he's not interested in her. Ikawa is surprised to learn Sasami likes Kengo, but Rin suggests he sings a hip-hop song with some original lyrics to express his feelings. Ikawa messes up the last line, and Rin proposes a three-way plan to win Sasami's heart, but it goes wrong, and Kengo takes down Ikawa. Sasami arrives and is impressed by Kengo's skills. Ikawa decides to give up, and Riki realizes they just need to help him cope with his unrequited love. Rin apologizes to Sasami, who agrees to share her email address after understanding Ikawa's feelings. Rin gives Ikawa Sasami's email, and he thanks her for it. The news only talks about the rocket launch failure in Tebwa, and doesn't give updates on whether Chernishka is safe. The other Little Busters members worry about Kudryavka. They read in the newspaper that entry into and departure from Tebwa is restricted due to the risk of contamination from the exploded rocket engine. The Kanata tells them that the Tebwan embassy has given Kudryavka a plane ticket, giving her a chance to see Chernishka again. Kudryavka is torn about going back to Tebwa because she originally came to Japan to escape dropping out of the Tebwan Aviation School after 6 months. At first, she decides to stay and throws away all her astronaut stuff, but Riki retrieves them and returns them to her. Riki tells Kudryavka that she can still pursue her dream of outer space, even if she can't become an astronaut. Kudryavka admits she wanted to see Chernishka again, and decides to go back to Tebwa. Before leaving, she leaves her dogs, Strelka and Belka, with Rin, and says a heartfelt goodbye to her friends. As Kudryavka's friends in Japan find out about riots in Tebwa following the rocket launch failure, Kudryavka meets up with her grandfather, who is in hiding. She learns that Chernishka survived the explosion. After Kudryavka's grandfather goes to get Chernishka, Kudryavka is captured by rioting rebels and chained inside a cave. While her friends wish for her safe return, Riki holds a broken gear that Kudryavka left behind, a keepsake from her mother. Kudryavka is determined to free herself, and the broken gear mysteriously appears in her hand, helping her break the chains. After some time, the riots settle down, and Kudryavka reunites with Chernishka for a while before returning to Japan, and happily rejoining her friends. While at the riverbank, Riki and Rin get a fourth mysterious letter tied to Lennon, telling them to put on a puppet show. They overhear 5 kids having an argument. A girl named Yumi wanted to do a puppet show for her friend Ami, but the panda doll got damaged by 3 boys named Taro, Jiro, and Saburo during a baseball game. Wanting to complete the task, Rin promises to put on a puppet show for the kids the next day. Initially, Rin gets help from the other Little Busters to write an approved script, but Kanata calls curfew and sends them all back to their dorm rooms. Komari secretly visits Rin's dorm room to help with preparations until morning. At the riverbank, Rin puts on a puppet show for Riki and the 5 kids. Later, Rin finds Komari on the school roof, where Komari reveals that she wished on the first star of the night for Rin's success. The 2 star-shaped ornaments in Komari's hair are like stars that may grant wishes, one for her own wishes and one for Rin's wishes. Kiyasuke tells the other members of the Little Busters that their first baseball game will be against a team made up of captains from other sports clubs. However, they still need one more player for the baseball team since Mio can't play. Riki, Rin, and Masato later see Kengo talking to Miyuki Kashiki, a former member of the archery club who had to quit after losing an eye in an accident. Masato mentions this during lunch, causing others to speculate about their relationship. Miyuki clarifies that she was just seeking advice. Riki, Masato, and Kiyasuke later learn that Miyuki has gone up to the edge of the school roof, where 3 teachers try to talk her down. In the commotion, Miyuki slips and nearly falls, but Kengo saves her, fracturing his left arm in the process. Kengo is suspended from the Kendo club for a semester. Choosing to join the Little Busters baseball team, Kengo eventually hits a home run with one arm after multiple attempts. With the baseball team now complete, Kyosuke hands over leadership to Riki. Kengo is surprisingly excited about being on the baseball team, earning cheers from everyone else. The team congratulates Riki on becoming their new leader. Kyosuke reminds Riki to handle the batting order, fielding positions, and game strategy for the upcoming match against the All-Stars. Kyosuke offers advice, urging Riki to surpass him and become stronger. Planning for the baseball game proves challenging for Riki, but he receives encouragement from Haruka and Mio in the baseball club room, followed by support from Komari, Kudryavka, and Yuiko on the school roof. After finishing the game plan, Riki tells Kyosuke that he's determined to grow stronger. The Little Busters end up losing the baseball game to the All-Stars by 8 runs. Despite the defeat, the bonds they share and the overall experience are more important to them. They decide to capture the moment with a group photo of the entire baseball team. And this is all for this video. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.